we recently purchased a wrecked Model 3, as you know, and my age, and of course health matters that you all have been terribly concerned about being what they are. I needed some assistance, so I called Duncan Ace Hardware, and they offered to send Bill up to assist with the destruction of the car.
Reluctantly offered.
They reluctantly offered to send him up. He wasn't so reluctant to come, but they reluctantly allowed him to come because Duncan Hardware, Ace Hardware, is the friendliest place in town. Even in a booming international megalopolis like Linden,
Tennessee. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
if you need some PVC, some Schedule 40, or some hardwood, we're kind of the place to go to.
they're the place to go because they have the friendly hardware man at Linden.
Yeah. And there's not really anything for another 50 or 60 miles or so.
So
Yeah.
Bill came to assist, and Richard and I smoked cigarettes, drank Dr. Peppers, and puzzled over a helicopter battery doing our part. And Bill's been working on the car doing his assist.
Doing what I do.
And Bill, tell me what you've got going here. You did get it on a lift finally. I couldn't get Jim and Rich to ever do that.
Well, you know, as you mentioned before, when this rolled in, the parking brakes, the rear brakes were locked. And being of a, you know, they're totally different than the Model S. It's not a separate caliper. It's integrated into the hydraulic rear brake caliper. And obviously, you know, it's got a different connector, and we don't know how to turn it off. So I basically just took the lug nuts off, took the bolts out of the back of the caliper, and slid the whole doggone thing off. And then that allowed us to, you know, roll it. Made that a whole bunch easier for us.
You said there was a little cogging in that.
Can you feel it? You got to have it held.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because it's going through like a however many to one gearbox, so.
It does have a little funny thing going on there.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Which sort of implies the permanent magnet motor rather than the switch reluctance motor. Switch reluctance motor does have permanent magnets, but not quite the same action as the permanent magnets in the rotor. And so I'm still puzzling over that. The battery itself, now that we've got it up here, now we can raise it and lower it and roll it around because you got the brakes off, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Excellent, excellent work.
And the steering, there's no steering lock, so you can just steer this thing all around.
I had cunningly stolen the idea from Mark in Alabama.
Oh,
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, Impatient Creations.
Yeah, from Impatient Creations. He had this table that is a jack table. So, of course, what I simply did was bought a bigger and better one than he had. Because I'm a guy and he's a guy. And
that's what guys do.
That's how you do that.
That's what guys do.
And so we have a table here capable of, I believe, 2,700 pounds to 57 inches.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really cool.
And Bill has put that up under the batteries.
Yeah, I've gone in the Model 3 battery, unlike the Tesla's Model S battery. Model S battery, I think, was kind of intended maybe to do a rapid change out thing, wasn't it?
Right.
Because they did that deal.
Battery swap.
Battery swap, yeah. I think it was intended to do that, just nobody wanted to do it once they possibly offered it, if that's right. This wasn't intended to do that at all. Not at all. You have to kind of take the interior out a lot to
Elon Musk is trainable, actually. He is a genius, but he's also trainable.
Yeah.
He built a facility, by the way, where you could actually go in and do the battery swap. Nobody really wanted to let loose of their battery for perhaps some pool battery that came out of a pool.
Yeah.
And he had all that done and was all ready to go. And much like Shah Agassi and the debacle with
Coda or Influence or
what was the name of Shah Agassi's Better Place?
Better Place.
Turned out not to be so good. We sold off They're vinyl batteries that we bought for nothing in Israel out of the bankruptcy because they had to get them out of the warehouse, so they kind of sort of just gave them to us.
Yeah.
And a guy picked them up there, marked them up ferociously, sent them to me. We marked them up ferociously, and then they were still like $3,400 for a full pack, basically like a Tesla battery pack, but maybe 3,400.
That's what we put in the Doka.
24 kilowatt. Yeah, we put one in the Doka. I've still got a couple back there. I kind of hold them out. And a lot of our test benches have them. And one of them burnt my shop very nearly to the ground.
They're very useful.
They're quite useful. And so, and Elon Musk said it was the stupidest idea he ever heard. Then he implemented it. And guess what he determined by direct first principles of experimentation? It was the stupidest idea in the world. And all the Tesla Model S owners have voted, it's stupid.
It's still stupid, yeah.
They like the idea, just none of them are going to do it to
Works
their
on paper.
car.
Yeah, it works on paper.
I think they had about 6 battery swaps ever performed at Rancho Moraga.
There was only one place for it.
There was only one place where they had it. And so dies that idea. And so you're telling me there's not a lot of engineering to implement that in this one?
Oh no, you couldn't. You wouldn't do that. No. In fact, I'm not even sure. I don't think you could get to the point where I am without even having a lift. Like really, because you gotta. Well, let's get into it. There's the drive unit is actually bolted in a lot the same as the Model S. It's got 4 big bolts that go into the main frame of the system, and then the battery, kind of like the Model S, has a bunch of bolts going around the outside, and it turns out to have 3 sort of long bolts going in through the inside, right down the middle, that I took out. They look long enough to actually have been holding something in there. Once we get it down, we'll find out if they did or not.
What it was?
Yeah, we'll find out what it did, but I'm thinking that that's what held it in. But the reason I bring all that up is because this plate, this is the bolt, this goes on the bottom. These 2 go into the 2 back bolts on the back of the battery, and this one is one of those big bolts that holds the drive unit in. So to get this thing out, you have to support the drive unit from the bottom, take these 2 out, take this big bolt out, take this part out, put the big bolt back in.
Well,
And
you're explaining to me how it really was all bolted together, and we could have taken the chassis off the thing. Bill said, no way we can take the chassis out from underneath the body.
well, these
I
were,
wanted to do it like the Tesla video, you
well,
know?
these 2 were bolted into the body, and as soon as you take these bolts out, this falls. It doesn't actually bolt the 2 pieces together.
Okay.
You know, so this is, I guess, is like a stiffener or something, perhaps. I'm not sure, but anyway.
That's an interesting bolt head. What do you call that?
An external Torx.
External torques.
External Torx. You'd think it's internal because if you look at the sockets, they are internally splined, but I guess they call it an external Torx. But it's basically a Torx bit, but just backwards. And there's 3 different sizes of these things. These 3 going down through the middle are an E16. There's some really small ones that you need to use to take some cover panels off of where the high voltage from the motor attaches into the or from the car attaches into the battery, and those are of the E12 persuasion. And then there's 2 gigantic ones right where your heels would sit when you're sitting in the car, and they are of the E22 persuasion. So you got to have all 3 of those kind. Otherwise,
So you're kind of bolted to the battery in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and then the other bolts are just your standard, like, I don't remember what they were, but like metric bolts. That's the ones that bolt up the outside. So you need a selection of bolts.
How many were there in the periphery?
I didn't get a count on it. I'll get a count on it.
Rough?
20?
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
20.
of bolts.
20, a lot of bolts. Yeah, a lot of bolts. So, but yeah, so that's the special tools that you need. And I think, there's some coolant lines that you got to undo too. Let me sneak past you here and get one of these.
I noticed your floor is all wet.
Yeah.
My floor is all wet anyway.
This is actually the string of coolant lines on the front of the battery pack. This comes from the engine compartment. This comes from the front, sort of frunk area, and
Where
then
the heat
just
exchanger is.
wherever that, and then splits out, sort of in parallel, to go through the battery, and then they come out the back side. So had to take this one off to some of the bolts that are you know, all right here.
And then does that connect to the inverter motor?
The
From the
inverter
battery?
and motor come from a different place.
Okay.
Yeah. So they seem to be different cooling loops.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that. So I had to take some of those off, and these are kind of neat. They got a little metal clip that you have to slide back with a little skinny screwdriver, and then that releases it. They're quick connects in that you push them back in, and then you can just snap them on real fast, like in the assembly line. But to get them off, you got to have a screwdriver. So that's those.
My other comment is the body, and we should probably do some shots of that later. Monroe and Associates thought that was mystically overbuilt and heavy. He apparently missed the video where Musk is trying to show the side impact comparison with a Volvo S90.
Yeah.
I like all that heavy and overbuilt.
Why would he want it lighter and underbuilt so it accelerates a little faster?
Right.
Into a crash where you get hurt.
Right.
Why would
so
you
you
want
get
it?
to the scene of the crash?
Yes.
sooner?
Yeah. Get
Yeah.
a free ticket to the hospital. Why would you want heavier and less?
I
well
like
built?
the emphasis on overbuilt
That's
body.
good. That's good.
So what do we have going here with my table? Do we have our, we pull this battery out, is my, this is kind of a trick lift where we can put it at different places. And we got it set where the car doesn't tip off the lift. if we
Yes,
remove the
absolutely.
battery.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
The battery's coming out of the middle, the center of gravity, so it's just, you know,
All right.
it may get a little bit tail heavier, but it's not going to flip it for any.
You don't mind if I stand away from underneath
No,
the
I wish you
car
would. I'm
while
going to
you,
actually lift the car away from it in case.
Oh, you're going to lift the car off
I'm
the
gonna
battery.
kind of your concept.
Yep, no, I like that.
But I'm going to lift the car off the battery. That way, if something slides or it doesn't go, I can, you know, sort of put it back and we can rethink this. So
All right.
let's see what happens. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. You got this, right?
Yeah.
Ace Hardware, Linden, Duncan Ace.
Oh. Yeah, we need to disconnect all the wires and stuff first, don't we?
Yep.
Let's do
disconnect
that.
some wires.
Let's take wires off first.
All right. Is that going to take a few minutes?
It may. Yeah, it's
Let's
gonna take.
cut. We're going to disconnect wires.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that real quick.
Okay. Our wire disconnection.
Yeah.
We spent 4.5 hours trying to figure that out.
Man, they're hard to find.
Actually, it was 30 seconds. We didn't even need to cut the
Didn't need to cut
camera.
it at all.
But
Oh well,
anyway,
that's how these things go.
yes.
Yeah, we may have to do this 1 or 2 more times.
We know what we're doing. Don't let the ass clowning. That's all for comic effect.
Yeah,
We're not really
It's funny. That's funny. So,
funny.
yeah.
More hoses.
Yeah. In the factory, these are probably disconnected or something. I'll go ahead and do that now.
Oh yeah,
There we go.
baby.
Yeah. There
Get
we
you
go.
some of that.
Get some. Yep. Okay. That's those guys.
Is that the
some.
ones to the drive unit?
Yes. Yes, I would say yes.
They seem to go past the battery. Yep.
Yep, up to the drive unit, you bet. There's not a disconnect. That's why I didn't do it before, because I was kind of, anyway. Moving on. All right, I think we're sufficiently disconnected that I can take this part down. If you want to hold that back in the
Well,
front
I
too.
can't. Well, we're
I'll get
gonna
it.
have
I got
to
this back part.
disconnect it. Well,
There we go.
okay, I'm up over it. Ignore it. Check that out. We were out here.
See what we got.
And actually, I have to tell you guys, this is the part I'm most interested in. However, it has a pad on it that seems curiously wet.
Yeah.
Wonder if this baby's been underwater.
Oh. Oh. There was a lot of mud and rocks and crap that was on this rear panel that dropped down. It's probably a good 10 pounds of dirt.
This seems very wet.
It does, more wet than...
It's just a vibration pad on the top of the battery. But this is my main interest as we get more into the solar and the use of electric vehicle batteries for solar energy storage. This is the next gen battery using the 2170 cells, and this battery is literally about the same capacity, 75 kilowatt hours, as the true capacity of the Tesla Model S, which they call an 85. And guess how much the BMS software thinks it has? 75, 77. Yeah. So this is pretty much the same capacity and voltage as the Model S battery, but I would say 2.5 feet shorter.
Do you suspect testing will find that this is actually 67 kilowatt hours instead of 70?
No,
so you think this will be truly...
Yeah, I think this is 75 kilowatt. Tesla's is actually been much maligned by people talking about Tesla's battery sizes. Tesla, for several years, has wanted to talk about range miles and de-emphasize capacity.
Sure.
But then their owners keep dragging them back to capacity. There is capacity, and then there's usable capacity. If you have software to prevent you from using a certain level of capacity, then you have capacity and usable capacity, and
yeah, it gets ugly.
Yeah, it gets very strange pretty quickly. I think that, like I say, this is going to wind up being a usable capacity of 75 kilowatt hours, which is within 2 kilowatt hours of what we see reported as the full capacity of the Tesla Model S by their BMS. And I mean, it literally tells me we are at this number of kilowatt hours and we need this many to be full. And then you kind of get into some squishy areas of what full means.
Yeah.
And how much pad to put in for the mother-in-law to keep your car owners from overcharging your battery.
Yeah.
And I would do all that if I was them.
Yeah, sure.
And so, but this is a physically smaller battery.
Yeah.
Again, there's it's starting to look like those little 2170s, maybe as high as 6 amp hours apiece. The 18650s were more like 3,300 milliamp hours, 3.2 to 3.4 amp hours per cell. And so, in a miracle of geometric legerdemain, having to do with the volume of cylinders that only whiskey makers can truly appreciate, they have done some remarkable stuff with their batteries, and this is the first battery caught in the wild out of a wreck. I hope it's not soaked all the way through.
I'm guessing it's probably sealed. I'm sure it's sealed. It must be sealed for, maybe not if it's submerged, though. I don't know.
Well, we'll see when we open her up.
We sure will.
The other aspect of this is that the charger, the DC to DC converter, and the battery management system are all here in this hump, which on the Model S contains more battery modules.
Yeah.
In this case, it's all electronics, and that makes it So they build this battery at the Gigafactory, and it goes into the car. They don't have to install any of that in the car. They don't have a charger. They don't have a DC to DC converter. They don't have a junction box.
Right.
They don't have any of that stuff. It's an integrated unit, and this is a big advance.
Sure, that must save loads of time, lots of money
Tons of time.
on assembly
Tons of
robots.
money.
Yeah, sure.
It even simplifies the design.
Yeah.
And right here is the connector that our charge port plugs into, and then the connector to the
Yeah, the motor is down here on the bottom.
2 drive units is there,
Yeah.
front and rear. We only have the rear, of course.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't it? There's one right over there. Sure enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one was the drive unit connected to, Bill?
As it's right here. It's
Yeah.
so the passenger side.
Right-hand side?
Right hand side. Yeah.
Yeah, and the left-hand side was open.
Yes. Yeah. It's just a blank, kind of like just a blank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool, man. So that's, we don't have any of that equipment in the car. We've got the drive unit and the inverter. We've got the screen, and we have some electronic steering,
Sure.
e-pass stuff
Yeah.
up front. But there's no units to salvage. They're all in the battery.
Yeah.
The charger, the DC to DC converter, the battery management system are all in one unit. So this is, to me, a marvel. If we could actually get it to work, that would be great. To do that, I still have to wrestle down a place in the car to monitor CAN messages. And it would sure help if I could get a schematic. Tesla's service thing doesn't actually have Model 3 schematics yet. And so this is all getting to be a little bit of a pain in the ass, Elon. Come on, give it up. This is just silly. You know, we're going to win on this anyway. So
It's coming.
why are you just trying to make my life miserable? I've been supporting you since 2008.
Yeah.
And cough the schematics. You got to go to at least the minimal right to repair things that the National Automobile Association supports in their efforts to manipulate the legislatures into not giving us a right to the repair law, and at least cough the schematics on the car. Yeah, we can hit an ohmmeter and stretch it all out and do all that, but give me a break, man. I'm an old man. You know, I'm short of breath.
Yeah.
I'm heavy. You know, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. A little hernia thing, get checked out. But I'm okay. Get off my ass. I'll be fine.
Spring chicken.
Yes. Well, maybe not that. This is my point. Give it up on the schematics and so forth. And for criminy sake, there's got to be a place to plug in for CAN diagnostics. So that's the thing. But I'm very proud to get this out. And actually, in the case of this car, you know, we had a 190 kilowatt drive unit on the S's, and we had the 350. I thought the 190 would be more appropriate for EV builds than the other one. I'm not even sure I can't run that one. I think I probably could with torque commands that come from the rear one. But do you know how many inquiries we've had about one of those?
Tell me.
2 in 4 years.
Who wants a weenie front one?
Who wants the weenie motor? This is the problem. There are weenie motors the world over.
Yeah.
Here's a 350 kilowatt one. Here's a 192 kilowatt one. Some of these people don't even know what a kilowatt is, but they want the big one.
350 is bigger, right?
350.
Yeah. That's the one I wanted.
That's the one I
Yeah.
want. So,
Okay. That's what you get.
which is interesting because the main drive unit in the Model S has a hopelessly dicked up and never, anyway, to repair fatal flaw in it for the purposes of many of our viewers, and that is that the inverter and the motor are on the same cooling loop, and kind of backwards. Then it goes through the motor and then the inverter. And so 3 laps at the track and you're done, baby. And the front wheel motor has separate cooling loops.
Yeah.
A very different heat exchanger.
Yeah.
And is really quite an improvement. But it's 190 kilowatts. They went to 300 kilowatts. I get it. So we'll probably drop that drive unit, mount it on a test bench, and I will intend to work on that probably for the next 6 years. Might set it right next to the other one, the front wheel drive.
Might as well.
Bill built a great, even before he was the friendly hardware man, he built a great test stand for the front wheel drive unit, and I was pressing him to get it done.
Yeah.
3 years later, I
got more
never connect and got the connectors. Never actually plugged them in anger to even apply 12 volts to it. Yeah. So that's drive units.
Yes, sir.
I'm actually at this point much more interested in the battery.
Absolutely.
And particularly the battery assembly with all the goodies under the Christmas tree here.
Sure.
And so this is a big play, and it took Bill precisely 3/4 of one day, well, almost a full day.
I took like an hour lunch too.
Well, yeah.
I got to drive.
Guy's got to eat.
The guy's got to eat.
After driving from Linden.
I didn't think it was going to come out this fast, honestly. But hey,
I did.
he's got more faith in me than I do.
Well, I was kind of hoping we could lift the chassis off.
Yeah,
the
that
body
would have
off
been
the
cool.
chassis.
And have a little skateboard rolling around.
Yeah, that would have been cool, but at this point, so I don't know. But we'll continue to look at it, see what we got going on here. But we do have the battery out, and we will do video later on some battery disassembly.
Yes, sir.
Stay with us. There'll be more EVTV. We are here with the Model 3 battery, trying to take a little bit closer look at it. As you can see, we have mounted it on our Mark Butt-Right of Creative or Impressive Creations style lift table, which has been very handy for this action. I and Shop Kitty both agree. Sir William, the friendly hardware man from Ace Hardware and Building Supply in Duncan Ace Hardware and Building Supply of Linden, Tennessee, has famously removed the hat from our penthouse here, allowing me to examine some of the equipment. This is the cable for the charge port. I'm fascinated to learn that the Model 3 has about 1,500 meters of wiring, which is interesting because the Model S is over twice that, over 3,000 meters. And they have vastly simplified the wiring of everything. One of the things they've done is gone to a aluminum high voltage cables that are shielded with aluminum foil, and then the familiar braided wire. But that's, they've got a new supplier for that, Gibauer and Griller of Austria. And they're buying that out of a factory in Poisdorf, Austria. And that's where I get some of these figures. So the high voltage cabling, this is for the charge port. It's the largest cables in the car. The one from the drive unit is very short and goes from right here to the drive unit, which is normally about right here. We weighed I didn't weigh, but Bill and Rich weighed the battery at 1,054 pounds, or about 478 kilograms. Saddened to report that in the process they run over Shop Kitty's foot, and Bill took her to the vet. I'm not sure who was wounded more seriously, Bill's psyche or Shop Cat's rear leg, but nothing was broken, and she's on antibiotic for 2 weeks, and we're hoping for a full recovery there. We do have the hat off, and so I thought I would talk a little bit about the battery. Oh, let's do some general stuff first. We believe that this is an 80.5 kilowatt hour battery. Nominally the same voltage as the Model S, essentially 96 cells of nominally 3.6 volts. It's a series of cells, each made up of 46 of the new 2170 cylinders, 21 millimeters in diameter and 70 millimeters long. Maybe they call it a 2107, but it's a 2170. We believe those are about 5 amp hours each for 233 amp hours for the pack. It's arranged in 4 modules, not 16, and they're not even identical. One has 23 cells in it, the next one has 25, then 23, then 25. So you have 2 pairs. We've actually found live terminals under rubber booties here where we can measure the full battery pack voltage here, and even a center tap voltage where we can measure between the 2 pairs of modules. This is a long-range battery, of course. The 23 series modules are nominally 82.8 volts, and the 25s are nominally 90 volts. The 25s would charge then to 105 and be pretty much fully discharged at 75, where the 23s would charge to 98.6 and up 96.6 and fully discharged at 69 volts. So 4,416 of the cylinders, and each voltage cell made up of 46 5 amp hour cylinders. And so that's the overview of the pack. We weighed it at 1,054 pounds, 278 kilograms. That's about 168 watt hours per kilogram, which is actually infamous. The capacity of this battery is essentially the same as the 85 kilowatt Tesla Model S, which was never 85 kilowatts, and which we get about 77 kilowatts usable. And I think we're figuring this at 78.27 kilowatt hours of usable capacity out of the 80.5 that you would calculate mathematically. So it's essentially the same size battery and capacity and voltage, and probably in current capability. Yeah, I would think so. Maybe even a little better. In a 1,054 pound package, as you have in the Tesla Model S, at 1,338 pounds. And so this is, in all respects, a superior battery. They use a nickel cobalt aluminum oxide, or NCA cathode. It's actually a little manganese in there. But rumor has it that they have decreased the amount of cobalt and increased the amount of nickel, reducing the cost somewhat, while perhaps even increasing the efficiency. Rumor also has it there's a little bit of silicon mixed in with the graphite in kind of a Panasonic developed technique to increase the gravimetric density of the anode. And so this is the latest technology in batteries, and I would venture that no one, not Volkswagen, not BMW, not Chevrolet, has anything that can approach it. This is probably the finest battery in the world at this point. Always subject to change. The other thing that's interesting about it and vastly simplifies the building of this car is that a lot of the equipment normally scattered about a Model S is all under this hat. And you are videoing me, and now I'm videoing you, and I can see you at home in post-processing, of course. The first item I'd like to talk about is our flip-top circuit here with wiring harness and plastic stuff. And this connector here is really the sole connection for control electronics to the battery. And this circuit card that is in here, and I'm not going to open this up to show you, I will put one up on the screen where you can see it, is what they call the high voltage controller. And we would think of it in a Model S battery as the BMS, master BMS board, but it's a little bit beyond that. Not much, but a little bit. And this is the connector where all the CAN, 12 volt ignition, and so forth comes in. Right next to that is two posts here, and those are 12 volt output. And you see the, not input, output. The 12 volts is generated here in the charger, which they now call a power conversion unit, because it's not only converts the AC input to charge voltages, but also the high voltage to your 12 volts that you need to run the car. Now, there is a 12 volt battery in the car, and that will work the lights and the ignition to turn this on, but once it's on, the charger actually provides the 12 volts. As I said, our charge port is right here and fairly simple. And we have the whole cable from the charge port door to the connector here. Right next to it is a blank, and that is for three-phase charging, which we're not going to do a whole lot of here. But they do in Europe, and I think in China, and eventually could for here. This area, orange covered stuff, is the current sensor and the contactors for the supercharging. And next to this, as I said, this here is a terminal that is live. This is the negative contactor, and this, of course, is the other side of that. On the other side, we have essentially the same thing. The negative terminal of the battery, a contactor, and from thence, those go to a number of places, but significantly, there's two connectors underneath here, one to the rear drive unit, and one that is another blank plate right now, and that is for the front drive unit. There's also another connector where it comes out and then goes back in underneath the battery and comes out up here. And we have two connectors on the front that used to be rather ragged, but have remarkably healed themselves since yesterday into fully functional connectors. This is fantastic. I think that only happens when you have a friendly hardware man around, but those connect to two items in the front, the air conditioning compressor and the PTC heater under the dash. And so this is kind of the whole thing. I'll put up a diagram of the whole high voltage routing in the car, and it's remarkably simple on a rear wheel drive. It goes to the rear wheel drive unit to the AC compressor and heater, and that's about it, and to the charge port. So all of the electronics having to do with battery management, charging, supercharging, etc., are right here under the penthouse hat. This black unit here is a what they call a pyro disconnect, kind of like an airbag. The high voltage controller, in monitoring the current through this in certain anomalous conditions, when it has closed the contactors, but let's say they're welded, it can still disconnect the battery by blowing this pyro, kind of a fuse, an explosive fuse that it can trigger and blow much as you would an airbag. Right next to that is a regular fuse. And over here we have 3 or 4 fuses under a yellow cover, and that is for the air conditioning compressor and the PTC heater and so forth. And so that's most of what we have here underneath for our control electronics charging all in one location, which leaves not very much electronics in the rest of the car. You have your drive unit over there, and you have a air conditioning compressor in the front and a PTC heater under the dash, and that's your high voltage distribution. And so that's pretty much what we have going on with regards to the electronics and charging, and a lot of it right here with the high voltage battery. Now what that means is they can put all this together in the Gigafactory in Nevada and ship those to Fremont and put them in the car. And the car itself doesn't have that much. It's got your screen and your NVIDIA central computer, of course. Again, an AC compressor, an electronic power assist steering unit that's a little bit elaborate because of auto steer, and your PTC heater. And after that, you're into hotel items, horn lights and power windows, all off your 12-volt system. And so a much simpler car, a much less wiring, and a much more manufacturable thing with, I believe, a Even though I've heard from Monroe and Associates this is impossible, he has, in a few minutes, disassembled this whole thing into a hopeless pile that I'll never get back together.
Never.
So I guess we're shooting for modules on this battery.
Let's go with that.
We'll have to get another rack to get a full battery. And so we're going to lift this off.
Yeah.
It's ready to go.
Well, I got to take about 4 little screws out of it, and I think it'll all but pop off.
All right, take them out.
There are about 4,622 of these little external star bits all around this thing. Look at there, it pops right off. And yeah, and then a whole bunch of glue. The glue is a lot like on the Model S battery pack. But you just got to kind of go around it with a chisel and spend about an hour or so doing that, and you know.
So a lot of adhesive.
A lot of adhesive, yeah.
And we're a little bent up here, I see.
Well,
but it's not peel it like a sardine can.
No, it's
like on the Model S. We have a little more structure here on the lid.
Yeah.
The other one is such thin aluminum. All you can do is open it like a sardine can, and you wind up with a roll that's not useful for anything.
And the main reason this got all bent up is just there's a little bit of that adhesive right through the middle, and you can't. I mean, you can't get at it. You just have to peel it. So, but it's not like the Model S where it's all through the whole doggone thing, and you're stuck. The two worst fasteners, there's where the coolant lines come up from below. Yeah, there's 2 little screws that go all the way through to those to get those out. And you got to get a long extension cord with a wobble socket on the end of it, and it's kind of sucks.
Well, I hate it when they suck.
Yeah.
I hate it when that happens.
It sucks like Dyson, you know? Yeah.
So where are they?
They're back here. Like you can see the hole. You can see the hole there. I took the coolant lines out, but.
So you can see what a wreck he's made out of all of our stuff. Is this one of our contactors here?
No, the contactors, I've got an assembly over there on the floor.
What's this?
That is some sort of I don't have any idea. Some sort of a sensing circuit or something.
Might be the current sensor.
Could be, yeah.
Yes, that's what that is.
Yep.
And again, it has to sense current to blow the pyro.
Okay.
And so there you go. So here's our battery thing. I'll pocket the Hero, and what do I do?
Pick up your end, I'll pick up my end, and let's. Oh, there we go. I know if it goes.
Let's go this way. And here we are. And as promised, 4 modules. This is a 23, this is a 25, that's a 25, and that's a 23. This is our negative post. They're tied together up here and come back here, and here's a positive post for this half, and then that's the negative post, goes up there, and that's the positive post for that half.
Okay.
And so these 2 halves are probably not connected at all. And let's check that out. Let's see if I know anything of which I speak.
You want to go here?
Yeah.
All right.
What you got?
There to there, 150.2.
Okay, here to here.
Here to here, nothing. And then there to there, 150.4.
Very well balanced.
Yes.
150.2 and 150.4, and they are split. What I'm curious about is how did we ever get our main board hooked up to this. What was the electrical connection to these?
Well,
here's the connector.
These little, well, it's going to have to come with this whole mess, but as these little purple deals fit in those holes there.
In here and
there's
here?
2 of them, yeah.
I'll be.
These little purple deals.
Excellent.
Yep.
Well, there's only 2 pins.
I see that. That's it. Maybe
I'm going to say that our
there's no other connections on the bottom that I can see.
yeah, no, that's it. And those just pop loose when you pick it up, or you had to disconnect them?
I had to disconnect them, but I'm sure they would have just popped loose. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I think these are the module control boards, or module BMS boards, but they only have 2 pins connecting them to the main thing.
Can high,
and
low.
you can see here, this is actually almost PC board-like lands that go to the individual cells to measure their voltage. And so that's pretty weird and very cool, actually. See if this is going, so I can make some video of this. Yeah, these are the heart of the melon here. I'm not too sure how to separate them. This is the daisy chain, much like on the other device. And again, my goodness, we've got one cable. It might have 2 wires in it linking them. We'll have to take a closer look at that. It looks like 2 pins. Oh,
How about that? Yeah, 2
how
pins.
about that?
2 pins, sure enough.
2 pins, and they pop right off.
Yeah.
And does that come off?
We're going to give it, it's going to come off.
Oh, holy smoly.
Like that. Comes off like that.
How about that? And there is our board. And so we literally have what looks like a 2-wire connector connecting these PC boards in the familiar daisy chain. Well, I've gotten out of, there's video. Here is the boards.
Wow. Oh, yeah, like you said, it's a circuit board.
And they are tied into those lands
Oh, wow.
on the side, going down thing to measure each of the cell voltages.
Wow.
And they are linked together with a 2-wire, if you can believe it, thing, and terminating in 2 wires here and there in a loop that only has 2 wires in it, all the way back to the BMS, or the high voltage control board. And so these are reporting temperatures and voltages for 96 cells using 4 boards and 2 wires.
Wow.
And we basically had that at transmit and receive, but we had 5 volts and ground and a fault line. Fault line never did do much. And on the Tesla Model S modules, I bet we have this down to a transmit and receive, and they cross from one to the next, to the next, to the next.
Wow.
And in a daisy chain. And so we've got a serial path very similar to what we had and we'll have to check these boards for what would you call it, chips, and to see if they're doing something different. But we probably have a serial system, again, reporting data for all these cells that way. That would be very interesting if we, like me and Colin, like mostly Colin,
Not me. Not
could
me.
figure out how to tap into that. And obviously it's powered by the cells themselves.
Sure.
And is reporting on an isolated serial bus the voltages and temperatures. And that is kind of very, very cool. Now it's very interesting. I don't know how useful. The problem is we have one that's 90 volts and one that's 86. And that doesn't meet the 48 volts used by solar.
It's awkward.
Or my 300 to 400. So I'm going to have to go back to China and get another kind of inverter made to make electricity with these. But man, kind of a handy size, frankly. 233 amp hours times 90 volts is about 20 kilowatts. And that would make sense since we got 80 total here. And so one module would be 20 kilowatts of storage, more or less, depending on if it's a 23 or a 25.
Yeah.
And so for solar, that would be actually quite cool. And obviously, here's 85 kilowatts in these 4 little modules. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
In a car, obviously, this is the smallest 85 kilowatt battery there is. And so the real issue is, can we get them to talk to us? And I'm going to bet on my man Colin.
That's where my money's at.
If he can't, I will. We'll figure it out.
I'm sure.
Although, who knows? Maybe it's TCP/IP.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be.
That's what I was thinking.
The very interesting,
That's cool.
but kind of powered, I have to believe, by the battery itself.
Got a little DC-DC converter in there to make it do 5 volts, or would it run on higher?
Oh yeah, no, it would be a little regulator.
Model 3.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And so there you have it.
Wow. That's neat.
This is amazing. Boy, these things are even bolted down. Look at this.
Yeah, it's not a joke. It's really.
They
it
are
really
not
is.
kidding about
Well,
having
it's
this.
you know, it's probably part of the. Well, it is. It's part of the structure of the thing. It'd be the batteries provide a little more rigidity to the whole unit. You know.
There's 10 bolts here holding this on. I gotta believe there's about that in between.
Probably.
This probably comes off. Well, boy, it doesn't feel much like it comes anywhere off.
Bet you it does, and I bet you I know how.
Huh?
I'll bet it does,
You think so?
and I'll bet I know how. Wonder if it's that one.
An overview of the Tesla Model 3 battery pack. He's found another bolt.
Found another.
They've got a lot of bolts holding this together. I mean, it is overdone as if some Stanford graduate Chinese guy was turned loose with too much time and too much money and told to impress somebody. And
but it still only weighs 150 or 1,050 pounds, so
it's still only 1,054 pounds.
that's not too bad.
Well, it impressed Shop Kitty.
Yeah. Oh, don't bring it up. That's a sore subject.
So to speak. I don't know who was wounded the worst, Bill or Shop Kitty.
Well, she had to go to the vet. But I had to go to the vet too, so I guess we're both about
They
the same.
both went to the vet, and Bill's had 3 counseling sessions in a day and a half.
She made a terrible noise. She looked at me with a tear in her eye. She looked right in my
You
eyes.
actually saw a
There
tear.
was a small kitten-sized tear. It
A
was very
kitty
small.
tear.
A kitty tear. Not like a human-sized tear,
Uh-huh.
because she's only got kitty eyes.
Well, yeah.
It was awful. It was awful. That's probably about right.
Did you measure that?
Yeah. Now what I'm concerned about is
Oh,
go off.
well, all the weight, hold on. This is scary. We got more weight over here now.
There's 2 in the middle and 1 on the outside.
Let's just,
The center of balance is going to be about right here. Hey, can you slide this battery over? Yeah, slide the, just kind of slide it like that. And you-
Oh, I just did it. Oh, okay, now. Now we're not leaning this way. So let's, go up a hair so we don't slip. Get some on the side. Okay, a little more. Yeah. That's safe. Okay, you ready? Richard, will you come over here and kind of add some weight on this part? Okay, 50,
Hold it, guys. Yeah, set it off.
okay.
No, set it off on your table and then come help me.
Yeah.
Okay, here it goes.
Come help
Be
me.
careful, be
Got
careful.
it.
I need some people over here, not over there.
Yeah,
Richard.
I'm holding this off, pushing
okay,
down
be
on this.
careful. Alright, put it down. We're good.
Dylan, come over here. On that corner.
That's pretty, that's good, fellas. We're centered.
Not bad.
We're actually more centered to the left.
Well. Yeah. Interesting. Turn the cameras on.
That could have been worse. Let's put this back down.
Be
so
careful.
it falls
Yeah,
down.
yeah, drop it. No.
No, let's leave it where it's at. Cameras on.
That's really heavy. That was really, really heavy.
Chair?
Good, 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 good,
You on, Richard?
good.
You already on?
Good. I paid for the whole thing. Oh, good. The water fast. It's a shame the cat wasn't here.
I'll never get that synced up. Thank you. Shut them both off. Okay. This was interesting.
Wasn't it?
I had a really bright idea. They told me, boy, that battery module's kind of heavy. There's 4 of them. There's 1,054 pounds. Guess which one of them would be?
250 something?
Probably 235.
235, give or take, yeah.
Yeah, get a little structure here.
Yeah.
So guess what happens if you have your battery carefully centered on the table and you take 250
235
pounds off one side
Does it get heavy on one
and
side?
you have one fat guy on the other side,
Who?
liens will be held to protect the
All right,
innocent.
fair enough. It could have been Dylan, I don't know.
Fortunately, plenty of guys to jump in and prevent my death. And we did get it centered back kind of. But that worked, and we
Yeah.
slid it out the side. Apparently, these don't come off.
No, these are actually welded to
This
the...
probably comes off,
I'm
right?
thinking that this one comes off, and the way to get these out is to rotate it up with a robot, for example, and pull it out.
But I'm not a robot.
No, that's going to be really heavy. We'll have to really think on that one.
Yeah, we got to think on that one.
Yeah.
But we have one module out, And that's kind of interesting.
Wonder what our voltage on that sucker is. What do you reckon our voltage on it is?
I think that one is 86.5 volts.
86.5.
I'm just going to guess.
86.5.
No, not that one.
Oh, what do you think that one is?
90.
Nope, 78.2.
78.2.
78.2.
So they need a charge.
Well, it was 300-ish.
What's that one?
This one is
I was giving you the nominal voltage.
does not have a voltage.
Fell down over there.
Fell off. 72.0.
There we go. And so all's right with the world.
Yep.
Interesting. So we've got a module out. Can I let this go?
I hope so.
And we can see what was here. What are these, Bill?
All these little screws that I undid, they clamp onto these little lips on the side and hold that side of the battery. The bolts hold this side of the battery. These little screws clamp onto each side of the battery.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, pretty clever.
It is very clever.
And it gets them both at the same time, you know. So it can do both at the same time. It's pretty awesome.
I don't get how you're going to get the middle out.
I don't either. I don't either.
But that's very interesting. This thing is just a work of art, guys, as far as a battery. I mean, this is really a work of art. I've never seen anything like this. Okay, the Stanford Chinese kid is okay. Keep him. This is pretty cool. I can't get over this. What a slick deal. Man, I hope we can figure that board out. These would be fun to have. Collect them, trade them with your friends. And the issue, of course, that has got me all a Twitter, other than I'll just go ahead and declare this the best battery in the world of any kind, anywhere, is that they're going to make 500,000 of these in the next year, 18 months. And a number of them are going to whack into trees,
Yeah.
telephone poles,
Yeah.
and other items. And then they're mine.
Yep. We're gonna have to work
the
a deal
quantities, guys, is we're one camel sneeze away. We've already kind of gone vertical. We're sort of pre-vertical. In my mind, we've already gone vertical on electric cars because I know how it's going to come out. I guess technically we haven't, but we have. But one camel sneeze, and we're at 71.75 this morning on oil.
Yeah.
And did you tell me that Syria and Israel just started firing missiles at each other today?
I heard.
Or was that Richard saying that?
Somebody?
We're one camel sneeze away from going vertical on the electric cars. The Model 3, if he never reaches 5,000 a month,
Yeah.
a week, I do care about that much. At 2,000 a week, you're talking about 100,000 Model 3s a year. And he'll never meet demand at that rate, but why would I care?
No, because once after that first year, all those 100,000 people, they'll go tell 10 friends, and a percentage of them will want to go order one too, and they'll never get it.
Well, yeah, the one way to make it something desirable that you have to have is tell somebody you can't have one.
Yeah, make it scarce. Sure.
And but he thinks he'll be at 5,000 by June, and this is May 10th. But if he never gets there, I do care, just not very much. It's going to be a mass-produced electric car with the most gorgeous battery I've ever seen. And plenty of Californicating bad drivers
Yeah.
to pick them up and wreck them for us. This is a recipe for disaster for everybody but us.
Yeah. Yep.
And these are just gorgeous, gorgeous batteries. That's probably 235 pounds. It's heavy,
Ooh.
but they're not as handy as the Model S batteries. But oh my God, these things are like sealed units. Everybody I know wants me to take off the plastic cover and show them the individual cells with tumescent goo. I don't care. I've never cared.
Yeah.
We're never even going to open one.
Yeah.
Why? For what?
When we lifted it, I felt it when it came over. There is something gooey on the bottom. It's kind of like that stuff on the inverters of the Model 3, that sort of feel.
I'm not seeing a lot of flood damage here, so
no
our
less.
soggy pads were not anything.
Well, water might not be able to get in. I don't know.
This is factory clean. This is brand new stuff.
Yeah, sure.
This is brand new stuff. This is fabulous. So this is all live
Yeah.
and to the other end.
That's right. Yep.
Uh-huh.
This is like laminated, really thin laminated pieces of aluminum, it looked like.
Well, it's real tough to drop a wrench across these two ends. You got to have a big wrench.
I mean, it'd be hard to, tingle yourself
Yep.
if that was your thing.
The most gorgeous batteries I've ever seen. And I have absolutely zero interest in seeing what's inside of them.
Oh, there's some of the goo. There you go.
We already know about, blue goo.
Blue goo. Yep.
We
that's it.
already know about 2170 cells. I don't care anything about that. I don't care how they're glued together. We know about the fusible links. Nothing in there I want to know about. Except what's down the side of that. What am I seeing there?
Which part?
Oh, they're just plastic.
Yeah, it's plastic. That's the stuff. Yeah.
Formed for strength.
Yep.
No, this is gorgeous. Just gorgeous. And you will never see the inside of this on account of me. This is like flexi circuit board on the top with the runs built in. There's no wires here. It's tied in with the board here. And how gorgeous is that?
Do you suppose it's got individual cell protection like the Model S has?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
No, people have already torn it apart. It's
Okay.
got the little fusible links. The stuff weaving in between the individual cylinders for cooling, and then blue goo over the top of it, and this piece of plastic. My imagination fills in the blanks. I don't need it. It's just like, it's like looking inside of a cow, but it's good once, but once you've done it, it's not that visually impressive. This is gorgeous, insulated. The terminals are on the ends, and the BMS board is right on it, and the connections to the individual cells for monitoring purposes are just very fine copper runs. If you put a magnifier on that, those are individual.
Individual ones. All going that way. And then Okay.
Yes.
All right, so each
Yeah, on
one of
both
these
sides.
rows then is a series string, and then I guess those are paralleled or something?
You know, I don't know what the geometric layout is in there. I don't care. We know that if we go between each of these
Yeah.
and each of these,
Yep.
we'll get a voltage. In fact, get your voltmeter. I think we can do that right now.
Oh, we could just hit that one and, well, I don't know which one.
What do we got here? Oh, 3.129, 3.127, 3.128, 3.127. Holy smoke. 3.128,
That's pretty balanced.
3.126,
A thousandth of a volt.
3.128.
We're watching little leads.
Nothing.
Careful of these little leads.
Little leads.
Yeah, the little wires.
Nothing. So these are picking up one set, and those are picking up the other. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and something up here. What's
dude,
this?
These little bitty wires going onto
72
this,
volts.
these little bitty wires going onto this board look suspiciously like the wires connecting all the cells in the Model S.
Uh-huh.
Do you reckon those could be fusible?
I would imagine so. That, but there's like 3 of them for each
Yeah.
one. It's just a way of connecting that board
Okay.
to.
Oh, because there's no current going through that, is there?
No.
No, never mind.
No,
That's
no current at
that's
all.
true.
Well, no, that's not true. They balance it. It's 125 milliamps. That's probably why there's 3 of them
Okay.
on each one.
Yeah.
And yeah, little fats and stuff. I mean, tiny ones. So it's, but not much stuff. It's a pretty bare board. And so yeah, it's if I go on that side, I'm doing the same thing. See?
What do we get if we go? Got one thing that says negative, one says positive. What do we get there?
72.
Nothing. We get nothing.
Go from here to here. 72
yeah.
volts.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely gorgeous.
Cool.
Just stunning.
Right
Yeah,
on.
just stunning. It's actually simpler, more maintainable, more repairable in some ways than the Model S battery.
Is it?
In a lot of ways, I think. Yeah, just pop one of these out, pop another one in. And now fixing one of these, that would be a shit show. But yeah, these will be a fantastic power supply for solar storage, assuming we can figure out how to talk to the board. And there's always a way, guys. It's not a matter of whether, it's how bad do you want it. And I want this pretty badly.
Yeah.
These would be great. It's kind of going to be a whole change of thinking on solar energy storage because of the things involved. But if nothing else, we put them all together and we got a 300 to 400 volt pack.
Well, the cool thing was when we got that penthouse on that this terminal and, well, that other terminal, whenever you touch the volt, I mean, they're there, they're already live. If you wanted to jump straight out of there, you could use that without having to mess with contactors and all that. Is that something you'd explore?
No,
No.
because I need access to these boards to measure the individual cell voltages. But everything in that Penthouse, it's contactors and current measuring stuff. We already do that
Yeah.
with our module controller. And so, I like the whole flat pack thing, but I gotta tell you, we've not had a lot. We've sold 10 or 12 of those pack controllers, but most people are interested in the modules.
Yeah.
And rather than try to decode the battery, I'd be tempted to simply do a controller for the modules. And if you want to put 4 of them together or 2 of them together,
6 of them together.
yeah, however you want to do it, that's that would be up to you. But I guess it's partly just the weight. We've had not everybody has a lift table and a
Right.
forklift and so forth hanging around the shop. So dealing with them as individual modules, a couple 100 pounds, 250 pounds, that's not trivial, but it's doable for almost anybody. A
Yeah.
couple, 3 guys,
Yeah.
and you can move them around, and they're not any particular kind of long, but you put a guy on each end, as long as they don't kiss, there's not even any danger.
Right.
So fantastic. This is I'm just ecstatic. These are gorgeous batteries. I don't know what I expected, but not this. This is the best battery in the world, and not the shit show Monroe was talking about taking it apart. We just kind of
Wasn't that bad, really?
how we did it with a guy from Ace Hardware.
It's true.
So there you go.
That's true.
Stay with us. Things are getting pretty good at EVTV.